I'm Amanda, and this is Not Your Granny's Quilt Show. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome to today's episode. I have Aline of Orbital Quilting. She and her partner, Natasha, are free motion, back up, award-winning, like 18 awards, winning free motion quilters, and they have custom design workshops. They're doing actually a really cool thing right now called Flourish and the Flourish Festival. So if you go sign up for their workshops now, they've got a great deal on taking their classes, learning free motion quilting from them. And if you sign up for the newsletter, you get a free ebook resource for learning some techniques as well. So they're giving so much. And I just had Aline on the show, and she is incredible. She had so many wise, deep things to say about the process of learning to free motion quilt and how just changing one word or just changing our perspectives just a tiny bit can just open up the whole world to us. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear from her. There's just so many good drops of wisdom within this episode. So I hope that you pick something up. I hope that you go check out Orbital Quilting on Instagram while you listen and get yourself immersed in the world of Aline and Natasha. And let's just get into it. Hi, Aline. How are you?
Hi, Amanda. I'm so happy to be here. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having us, me and Natasha, virtually. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to do this. And I've just loved getting to consume all your content and see all your quilting. It's so beautiful. And I love it. And as a quilter, I'm a long arm quilter too. So when I see good quilting, it just makes my heart so happy.
And that is kind of a double compliment also. Thank you so much, because I love when people like our quilting, but when a quilter likes our quilting, is like other understanding, other point of view. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah. So we got connected through the old RIP quilt quarter inch collective and our common friend Erin of Seam Ripper Society. And so I just have to thank her for connecting us because I had known about you. And then she was like, have you ever thought of having Aline on? And I was like, that's a great idea. And so here we are. So this is so cool. But
Yeah, that felt so special.
yeah, it's like I think it can be really overwhelming trying to find, because I want so many people on the show that I get almost paralyzed. Like, I don't know who to ask. And so it's really nice when I have friends who know me well enough to know who would be a good fit and who might actually say yes. Cause some people are like, I'm scared. And I'm like, why? I'm just a girl. Like,
I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl. Yeah. Yeah. People get scared of cameras, I think. It's not from the person. It's like the internet's not a very welcoming place right now, actually, right? I mean, you're an amazing, welcoming, warm host, but you're welcome. I saw a lot of your episodes by now, so I can tell.
Oh, good,
But I understand why people are so kind of afraid, because internet is making some people very vulnerable, because other people don't know how to use internet. So,
it's true.
so
It's
I
true.
totally get that. Yeah. I totally understand. But I'm here for the ride. I love internet. I love to be all around. And I think that as long as we are being respectful and humane, we can chat.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I forget because this is what I do. I'm all over the internet all the time. I forget that it's a nervous thing for some people. And so I'm like, I don't know why you would say no. But then I'm like, oh, right. I used to be so scared every time I'd sit down to make an episode. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm so crazy for doing this. But now I'm like, it's fine. It doesn't bother me.
I think we should make a campaign. Quilters, get your face on the internet. So it's easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, when you start to do in-person things or you've there were so many people who've never shown their face. And so I just like walk right past them at QuiltCon, didn't even know who they were because I've never seen their
Yeah.
face before. And then somebody would be like, oh, so and so's here. And I'm like, what? Where? And they point them out. And I'm like, I literally have seen that person 10 times today and did not even think to stop and say hello because I didn't know what
Yeah.
they looked like. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's a one incident. But anyway, it makes a difference. And I think you're right, though. It is kind of you're being very vulnerable, putting yourself out there every time you do show your
Yeah.
face, and
Yeah.
um if you don't have the ability to throw it back in people's faces when they're rude, it's hard. So I totally get that, but or just ignore it. I don't know. But anyway, um well, we're here to talk about you and learn about you. So I want to know how you even got into quilting, like just from the very start.
Oh, that is the most amazing story. I love to share that because it's kind of a movie or something very crazy. So Natasha and Natasha and I came back from the big city. So we are in a big city
Mhm.
here in Brazil. We are not on the beach. People always ask that. If we have beach, we are 3 hours from the beach, a 3 hour
Brazil's
drive.
huge. Yeah.
Brazil is huge. And we are in the state, there's no canyons, no lakes, no beach. We are like, our city is called Fields, but it's
Oh.
super pretty, but it's the name of our city is Fields. So you can get how it is here.
Yeah.
so, we went to the state's capital to study. Natasha was in architecture, and I worked at the film industry as a makeup designer, as a
Oh,
character designer. It
yeah.
was super fun, but we couldn't handle that city. It was too much for our soul. We were not well. So
Yeah.
we were like, well, let's go back to our city. And we were like, yeah, all our professional contacts are here, all our careers. I was becoming a professor at a university, and Natasha was working. I was in the process to that. And Natasha was working and just got invited to a very amazing accessibility. I don't know the name, constructor, maybe that's the
Oh,
English name, an accessibility architecture company. Very.
okay.
So we were like, we cannot leave these things behind. And we were like, oh no, yeah, let's go. And then we packed and we moved back to our city. So we were here and we had nothing to work because our work was built on that other city. And
Yeah.
then Natasha's mom was like, oh, Aline, you are so good with your hands, because I was a makeup artist and Natasha is also super crafty.
Yeah.
And she was like, wow, I just started taking patchwork classes, piecing classes,
Hmm.
and they need someone to do this. And she showed us the stippling uh,
Oh.
pattern of quilting.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh no, thank you. I want a career. I'm not a person that will work for that and work for that. I want to build something. I want a career. And Natasha was like, huh, I've never saw this. And I was like, me neither. And then we never heard of that or anything like that. And a few days later, Natasha and I were talking, and she was like, we could build a business from this. We could actually transform that into something that is ours,
Hmm.
because I I had done films and carnivals and a lot of big projects, and Natasha
Yeah.
was always with me. And Natasha also had done um, theater sets, movie sets, like
Hmm.
big projects. And I was always producing things for her too. So we understood that we were very good working together. And
Yeah.
then she was like, wow, we could do something from this. And from the moment that she said that, I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we became professional quilters. That day, we had no machines, and
Mm,
we don't even we at that point we had saw quilting one time in our
mm.
lifetime. So we were like, yeah, we're professionals. We are making a brand. We are making this art, this awesome name. And we didn't sleep the whole night because we were so excited that we were building something. And I get emotional
Yeah, good.
because here we are.
Yeah.
And then, and then we bought the long arm like the next week or so. And here in Brazil, 10 years ago, to buy a long arm was very, very hard, very difficult because there was like one dealer and you had to wait 3 months. And
Mm,
it was kind of a chaotic scenario. And Natasha and I couldn't wait. We were like, oh my God, we just made this huge purchase. And at the time, and even so, you can buy an apartment, like a studio with the money that you buy a long arm.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
was like, why are we doing this? We
yeah,
had those moments like, what are we doing?
yeah, yeah.
But um, like 2 months after we bought that long arm, people start to get real anxious because Natasha's mom was like, "Oh, they're gonna be do that. They study this all day, and etc. etc." And she was super happy, she was super proud, and people started to get impatient about the long arm. So
Hmm.
they say, "Well, why they don't why they just don't just start, you know,
Yeah.
why
Hmm.
don't don't they quilt on a sewing machine or a domestic machine?" So Natasha's mom gifted us with a sit down industrial machine, which is very different, right?
Yeah.
Than quilting on a long arm. And when people heard about that, we started to get client quilts. And that was crazy because we quilted one time
Hmm.
on a vintage pret-a-porter.
Hmm.
That's the Singer machine. We
Hmm.
quilted one time, and because we were immersed in this universe for like 2 months straight, doing, hearing, talking about nothing else but quilting. When we
Hmm.
sat and quilt for the first time, it was like, wow, we can actually do that. We quilted cupcakes and monsters and owls and bats. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And Natasha mom's, of course, she showed that off everywhere. So
Yeah.
people were like, oh yeah, I can pay for that. And we started without the long arms. So we started to be professional quilters without the long arm. And then again we started to quilt
Yeah.
without the long arm. And it's been a very amazing journey. But I think that beginning, it's very it's kind of a good advice on quilting. Like people are always so afraid of free motion quilting or machine quilting or their machines or ruler work. We get that a lot from our students. Like I'm afraid. I totally get the feeling that we don't want to ruin a quilt. I mean, we are doing the crystalline quilt from Outerwood Studio,
Hmm. Hmm.
a very, very beautiful quilt, and I totally get it. We don't want to ruin our work, but
Right.
also you cannot ruin with free motion quilting. Just select the right thread and
Yeah.
go for it. So
Yeah.
you cannot ruin a quilt with free motion quilting. So I really like to share this story because I think that people get very energized because we were going, doing.
Yeah.
And I think that people should actually do that. Start promotion quilting, start finishing your own quilts. I bet start that long arm business, whatever it is, just start and go for it. I think it will be amazing. And the quitter community is so amazing, so welcoming. People
Yeah.
will always I learned that from the English speakers community that they will always be there for you. Quilters will always be there sharing what they know,
Yep.
sharing what worked for them. So Please,
Yeah.
please quilt.
Yeah. Right. I know. It's, as saying, I was in the same boat. I really wanted to start a long arming business. I had only been long arming for a few months of practicing on the machines that we can rent at our local quilt shop. And even though I had only done free motion or followed a paper pantograph, I had never done, the digital. But when we went to buy our machine, the salesperson was like, "Oh, if you're gonna do this as a business, you really want to set up, you want the computer so it can just do the edge to edge for you. Like you can just set it up. You don't have to be the one moving the machine." And so that's what we've relied on for the business, which is great because sometimes that's what people want. And so then when anybody
Yeah.
asks for custom, I'm like, I'm sweating. It's okay. It's gonna be fine because I don't do it very often. And so I have one on my machine right now that is going to be custom quilted. So I'm very excited. Um, it's a big deal, but anyway, so yeah, I
I know.
understand.
Is that the Pantone challenge?
Oh,
Congratulations. You
yeah,
got selected to quilt a winning
yeah,
quilt. I
yeah,
was so excited.
I know,
I
yeah.
saw the post. I was like, yes, I know this person.
Yeah,
Amanda. Yes.
yeah, I know. And Eva, the maker, she's so sweet. And um, we talked so much last night about design and choices and what we're going to do in the different spaces, and it's going to be so cool. But yeah, so when I get to
Awesome.
flex that muscle of free motion, and I mix with some digital just because some shapes I want them to be perfect, and because
Uh-huh.
my machine can do that, but just like
Yeah.
it's like using rulers, it's like a ruler is going to
Yeah.
give you a perfect curve or a perfect straight line. And so I just use my machine to do that kind of stuff sometimes. So anyway, but that feeling of like, what am I doing? And then, but I'm so excited, but what am I doing? I'm spending I could buy a brand new luxury vehicle with this amount of money. And, but then my husband, when I was like freaking out, my husband said, "What's the worst that can happen?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is a good idea." So
Can you calm down?
yeah.
Yeah.
So but that kind of stress of just like, how do we start? Do we just let somebody bring us their quilts? Like, I
Like
don't
why
know.
people are asking to pay for this.
Yeah, like I don't know what I'm
Like,
doing.
yeah.
I had the audacity to think I could start a business, but now that the business has started, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so sorry. Like, please take your quilt back. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a professional. I'm not sure. But now I'm like, no, give me a quilt. I'm the best. And like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh how
yeah.
th- oh
And
how things
you know
change.
that, yeah, and that anxiety that we got from our very first client quilt, it was huge because we had actually quilted like three
Mm,
things before we got a client quilt. So we were super brand new. And that was the very sparkle that inspired us to make a method, a process that is now the orbital quilting architecture method, the one that we
yeah.
can rely on. And we're like, oh, I'm so glad I have orbital quilting architecture because now I can breathe. Because that very first anxiety was something that was very strong because Natasha is a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist, and we knew that we were making transforming somebody's work. That's it was a very elderly person,
Mm.
so it could be like her last work. It was not. Actually,
Oh,
she's alive to this day, so
oh, good,
it was
good, good, good.
not.
You saved her. No.
But yeah, yeah, but we got that, so oh my god, this is somebody's life. This is
Right.
too important. This is too rare. This is
Hmm.
this is precious. And we got like it was very, very stressful. So I really love that moment, because that was the moment that we realized that this was serious. And
Yeah.
Natasha said, we cannot live our lives like that, because we are
Hmm.
career girls, so we
Hmm.
started something for life, and we were like, we cannot live in this constant edge like of
Right.
having a breakdown. So
Yeah.
we were going crazy. So it was super important, that amount of stress that we felt when
Hmm.
someone said, here's my quilt, finish it. And we were like, wow, how am I gonna do this? So,
Right. I know.
right, I can totally see that moment for quilters, etc.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's why we got into quilting, teaching quilting, actually, because we know how it feels, not
Right.
being able to move on, not being able to quilt, not being able to decide a design, and all those kinds of stuff. We know that feeling, like
Yeah.
deep, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that you can't explain to somebody until they're right in front of the machine. And when someone's asking you to quilt their quilt, it's a little, like you said, it's stressful because they're asking you to put your artwork onto their artwork, and they're trusting you to do a good job and enhance the work that they've already done. And the time that
Yeah,
goes into piecing a quilt, as you know, is hours and hours of labor. So to have the concept that it could be something that they don't like at the end is just very stressful. But
yeah,
I think the more, like, your work is very specific. Like you said, you have your method, and it's very obvious that like your work is your work because it has your personality all over it, which is fantastic. That's what you want, right? It's your art. And so
right.
that's how I feel. Even though I'm doing edge to edge, it's like my eye and what designs I see going on with different quilts and how I size it and put it together, the thread choices, like all those little things. I'm still making art. I'm using other people's designs too, which is so great. But that
Mhm.
collaboration that comes from quilting, because you can't just
Yeah,
feel in isolation all the time. And so
yeah,
leaning into that idea that like we're leaning on each other, we're using each other's skills, and we're helping each other become better quilters for it is, I
yeah.
think, where I try to, mentally live, because I think I can get really hard on myself, and I'll look at a quilt and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I'm like, that's crazy. I literally do. I've been quilting every single day for years, It's like I know what I'm doing. Calm down.
Yeah, yeah. I think we get that feeling every time, every time, every time.
Yeah.
When I talk with our students about professional work, we've trained some professional quilters here in Brazil,
Hmm.
and this is something that we always say, like, get used to insecurity, because
Hmm.
it will come. It will come. But if
Yeah.
you have a system or a method or something that you can place outside yourself, that was it for us, for me and Natasha, especially Natasha, because she is so perfectionist. She
Mm.
was like, when we finished our quilt that awarded best in Paducah, when
Mm.
we finished that quilt, not the first words that Natasha said was, burn it. It's awful. So this is the level of perfectionism that I'm talking about. So I'm perfectionist, but Natasha is another level. Like, she said, burn it. And she meant it. It was not something that, because if I say that, people say I'm a drama queen. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, but tomorrow
Yeah.
I'll be fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but Natasha was actually hurting. She was actually suffering. So
Oh.
um, I always say to my students, and Natasha tells this story because it was true, and she is not like that anymore.
Hmm.
We said, place your insecurities somewhere else outside you. So outside you. So you were talking, I use other people's designs and I still consider it's art. I still consider it's art too. I think there is, what is amazing about quilting is that someone can buy a pre-cut fabric, pre-selected pattern, la 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 la, and that person will still be doing art because that person is developing a perception. And this is where art resides, not the result, but the
Right.
perception of creation. And we all have to start somewhere, and we all are in different places and different resources and different aesthetic preferences. So
Yeah.
I always say to my students, place that insecurity someplace else outside you. So, oh, I'm not doing this alone. I'm using this method. I'm not doing this alone. I'm using this, I don't know, machine that has something. I'm not doing
Yeah.
this alone. I have this other thing that is sharing this responsibility with me.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
have like a silent partner that can share that with you, because I think that because Natasha and I started this together,
Mm-hmm.
we experienced that. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm not liking something, I can show it to Natasha, and Natasha will say, "Oh yeah, this is not working.
Mm-hmm.
This needs that." And if Natasha is not liking something, she was like, "What is wrong?" And I was like, "This, you need to change that." So we have that. We get to share the
Yeah.
responsibility. So
Yeah.
I always say to our students, share that responsibility with something, with something,
Yeah.
even if it's you. Go to the other day and say, I'm a different person now. Let's say this, but dissociate from that, so
Yeah.
you can relieve that stress, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a difference. And I think that's, people are like, "Oh, I'm introvert. I just quilt by myself all the time and I don't really have anybody around me." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're still if you're online, you're watching people, they're influencing you. If you learned from someone, that person's influence is always going to be with you." And if you're quilting with other designs or you're mimicking some designs you see, you're that person, that designer, that they're always with you. And so I think quilting, like, in and of itself is a community thing.
Yeah.
It's a community career, it's a community profession, it's a community hobby. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
aspect you are, or whatever role you have in the quilting community, you need we all need each other. We
Yeah.
can't do it alone. And so I like that. And I think you're right. Like some people, I think, they're like, "Oh, that's not a real quilt because you did a kit and I'm like, it's literally 3 layers.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm like, it's got a backing, it's got something inside of it, some kind of batting, and it's
Yeah.
got a top and it's stitched together. It's a quilt. It doesn't matter how you got there. Like,
Yeah.
so I think taking it down to its barest bones and saying, does it have the 3 layers? It's a quilt. The rest doesn't matter,
And
you
even
know?
if it haven't,
I
even if
know.
it's like,
I know. Right? I
even
know.
if it haven't,
You're
it's
right.
like it's a, you're not the artist. If the artist say it's a quilt, it's a quilt. I mean, someone
Yeah.
can get. I always say that someone can get a toilet, put in a museum, and say it's art, and
Mhm.
then we study art and we say, wow. Yeah, that actually is, right?
Right?
No one
Yeah.
is doubting. No one is doubting that. So it's like the artists decide if this is a quilt, this is a quilt, and you have nothing to do with it. You can like or not, but
Yeah.
it's not your job to decide if it's a quilt or worthy of a quilt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it gets hard because obviously you've won a bunch of awards and there's, big awards shows and quilt shows, all these things where people are deciding what's good and what's not good and letting some things in and not other things. And that's where it gets kind of scary because I think that still puts labels on it. It still just is
Yeah.
some higher power deciding what is and what isn't art or what is good and what isn't good. And I think like you were saying, take that insecurity and put it somewhere else, because I think that can kind
Mm.
of create insecurity within people. They
Yeah,
thought their quilt was great, it didn't get into a show, and now they're feeling sad. It's like, but you still made this beautiful thing. And I
yeah,
can't talk very much because I never put anything into a quilt show. So um I haven't experienced it, but I've seen the effects of it. I've been around people who have
yeah.
been rejected or whatever, or won, and it's so exciting. But then also you feel sad for the people who didn't win or didn't get in. And so I don't know. It's hard. I don't, how do you feel about, I mean, obviously you're probably, and I would guess, very excited and proud of all your awards, and you do
Oh, yeah.
amazing work. So I think it's, warranted, but how does that does it change how you view your work, or is it just you're like, "Yep, this is just what I do, and this is a cool thing that gets to happen because of it."
No, when we started to enter contests, it
Mhm.
was because we were in a very toxic partnership here in Brazil.
Mm.
Um, 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 and that person was always saying that our work was worth nothing, that
Oh,
it would be better. It was very, very bad. And we were
mhm.
like, but how can this be if our clients are loving and we feel so great about this? We felt very amazing about quilting.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, you know what? We should put this for other people to see, and we can get other eyes opinions. And
Yeah.
then we were like, it was like 1 year after we started to quilt, so it was very early.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, if people don't like it, whatever. But then we felt the pressure of putting your quilt on a contest, and
Mhm.
and all those steps that you go through, like having to write something and then having to get that email, etc. And then
Mhm.
it didn't get easier through the years, but something happened and it was amazing. When we got our first best, it was very unexpected. It was always unexpected because
Yeah.
Natasha is so perfectionist and I'm a super optimistic person. So if we finish our quilt, I'm like, yeah, we are super winners.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
So, but of course, I have my insecurities too. So when that happened, and Natasha was always saying, this was a mistake. They will email us saying that this award was wrong. They named the wrong person. It was very serious. And I saw that suffering, because I'm
Yeah.
not like that. I'm
Yeah.
like, we finished this. This is amazing. Let's not use it. Let's
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
not put it in the sofa. And so when I saw that we were very prestigious teachers, quilters, etc., and Natasha had still in this word in her head that she couldn't see the people appreciating our word.
Mhm.
So I started a program with Natasha, and I was like, man, you have to be able to see that what we are doing is amazing. This is
Yeah.
incredible. So I did that with her, and then we got to mentorship students for contests. So we have
Oh.
now 11 mentorees. I don't know
Mhm.
this word. 11 students on this program, and they awarded in Paducah, in Quilt Canada. They awarded in very, very amazing, amazing places.
Yeah.
And when they finished their work, we made this deal that we were never ever using a contest to value our work. We
Mhm.
will use it just for the timelines because a quilt show can take forever. So it's like a tool. And if it's not selected, we will always change the word to it's not appropriated to the theme.
Yeah.
because we have to understand, and we made this exercise with our students. We say, well, imagine that you are the curator. When all the works were finished, we have 11 quilters in this first class.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to pick three. Pick three.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, I can't. I can't. This is too awesome. This is too amazing.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is the work of the people that selected the quilts. So it's
Right.
not an easy word. It's
No.
not an easy job. It's not an easy task
No.
to have that weight. And then select three and now place the first one. And they were all freeze, like, oh my God, it's super hard. Because we always, I think that we can make that exercise to understand that it's difficult for juries too. Of course, there's all kinds of people in all kinds of, but I
Sure.
like to work, I like to work from the premise that everyone is good and everyone has good intentions,
Yes.
So it's not that someone is like, wow, this is disgraceful, this is gross, it's not, it's just difficult.
Yeah.
It's just the chair dance, so someone will be out, someone is missing one chair, so someone will be out. And I think that kind of changed the perspective of people looking at not being selected, because then it doesn't feel so much like a rejection,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not a rejection, it's just a number. And sometimes it's not even because the council in charge of selecting quilts don't consider your quilt technical or things like that. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
just because there's too much blue, and then because your quilt is blue, it doesn't enter the contest. So
Right.
it's good to have those kind of information too, because then you can, oh yeah, well, I can change it's blue. Blue is my favorite color, and I
Mm-hmm.
chose that color, and I think it's amazing, it couldn't be any other color, right? So
Yeah.
that really changed the perspective for our students. And when we said we don't use selected or curated, we always use appropriate, because
Mm-hmm.
then we can think like, we use sneakers for running,
Mm-hmm.
those are appropriate. And we use, I don't know, makeup for other situations, that is appropriate. You are
Mm-hmm.
not gonna run in heels,
No.
it's like that's not gonna happen unless you're a supermodel or a performer artist or something like that. You
Right.
will not. It's not appropriate. It doesn't mean that his sneakers are not awesome or heels, etc. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the change of this word really make the difference for us, especially Natasha, and for our students too. And I always, I'm such a positive person in these things. I think, wow, we get to finish a quilt. This is
Yeah.
the sole purpose of a contest. We get to finish this freaking quilt that took us 9 months to quilt. So
Yeah.
this is a win already.
Yeah.
And then if we get bonus and extras like cherries on the cake, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But if it's not, of course, I am super proud. I have to say this because this is all talking when you don't win a contest, but then you win and you have to celebrate it, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
be so proud, and you have to be so amazed, and you have to, I think that you have to base on that
Yeah.
joy of people liking your quilt.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important for quilters in contests that they go to the show, because we never went to the show, but we were fortunate enough to have our students all over the world and the country. And we always have people with our quilts on our shows, on the shows. So they
Mm-hmm.
were like, wow, people were stopping and talking about your quilt.
Yeah.
Even on on the shows that they didn't award it, we never win. Oh, yeah, one time we win at every contest we enter with one quilt, but that is one quilt. We have 9 show quilts, so
Yeah.
it's 1 to 8. So
Yeah.
for the other 8, we had it exhibited on a place that it was not awarded.
Mm-hmm.
And having people to say, people were amazed by your quilts. People were like, wow, this is so beautiful. This is my favorite color. I want to try this design. I want to try this color. Wow, I never thought of fluor on white or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And I think we have to make the internal work to shift that
Yeah.
rejection mindset,
Yeah.
because it's super easy to fall in that.
Yeah.
My work was rejected. Oh, there's no enough opportunities. There is not. The space is limited, and this is life. But
Yeah.
this shouldn't mean that we cannot celebrate our quilts,
Yeah.
our awards, our finishing.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, okay, it's sad. Feel sad, scream, etc., and then move on, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. 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 No, that's great because you're right. Like not everything can be a winner. Not everything can have an award, but when your quilt is hanging in a show, even if it doesn't win, you don't know how
Yeah,
many people your work is inspiring. And so I experienced that um at QuiltCon this year. I went and one of my followers and kind of just Instagram friends, she was like, "Will you please go take a picture with my quilt that my bee, we did together and we submitted it and it said fuck fentanyl on it because some of them had lost people to fentanyl overdose." And so yeah, horrible, but just hearing the different conversations around it and what people were saying as they were standing in front of it, because the letters are big and bold and it's all different font and it's beautiful and heartbreaking, and just hearing the things that people were saying, like, oh my gosh, some people were like, that's strong language, or we're kind of looking their nose down at it, and but there were so many more people that were saying, oh my gosh, I want to do something like this is so cool to see, it's creating this big impact visually and emotionally, and it just the thoughts that people are having about wanting to do something like that too. And you just never know what other people are going to see from your work. And just because it doesn't have a ribbon on it doesn't mean that it's not having an impact on the people that are seeing it.
yeah, yeah. I always say to our students and to me, I keep saying I say to our students because I only say to our students what I repeat to myself several
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like curated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I truly think that the artist work is the work, you know,
Hmm.
doing that. And what will unfold after that can be managed,
Hmm.
can not be managed, but our work is to do the work. So
Yeah.
if you have a calling, which is the simple desire to look at this, to make this is a
Hmm.
calling to me. So this is touching your soul in a level that sometimes we cannot even speaking in words. Like, why do you like quilts? I don't know. Why are you asking? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's not the fabric. It's something else. I don't know. Because it's something inside of you. It's not
Yeah.
on the object. It's in your soul. So it's
Hmm.
connecting to that. So I truly think that to we have to honor that, we
Hmm.
have to honor that beauty that wants to emerge.
Hmm.
And our work is to do our work, and if we can manage to show that work, okay, but that is not the work. The work
Yeah.
is doing the work, so
Yeah.
our this year we had a quilt at QuiltCon too,
Yeah.
and it was the first quilt that was not at our technical level.
Mm.
So it was kind of a shift for us because I did that work in pain and I really needed to feed my
Yeah.
soul. and Natasha was finishing and was quilting with me. And when we finished that quilt, I said, Natasha, I want to put this on a show. Let's see if people like this quilt. And
Mm-hmm.
Natasha was like, are you sure? Because she knew that was so emotional to me, that quilt.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, are you sure this quilt doesn't represent your level
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, um, technical, aesthetical, anything? Like you are a more complex artist. And I said, yeah, I know, but I'm also so fragile at this moment.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to share that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be
And
sorry.
then
It's
that,
okay. Oh,
and then that could, and for the first time, I was in this position,
yeah.
um, because I never was. I was like so super excited that we finished a quilt, we finished a quilt, we finished a quilt. I never felt so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And and then the quilt got exhibited at QuiltCon, and then someone sent that picture, the quilt hanging, and then someone said, reached out to us on Instagram and said, Aline, I know what you're talking about. My endometriosis was also super hard, and I think it's so important that you were able to transform that into beauty. And that was like,
Yeah.
wow, that was so powerful,
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. We never know what is coming from that artwork. But I really believe that my job is done. I made the
Mm-hmm.
quilt and I submitted it,
Yeah.
and it was there. So
Yeah.
that bring me so much joy. So I thought, of course, I think that your quilt has a much more, I don't want to here. I don't want to value pain, but I
Sure.
think that your
Right.
quilt is much more serious
Mm-hmm.
because it's a drug, and it's something that we have to talk and to
Yeah.
speak, and it's super super important. But in a way, I think I can relate to
Yeah.
that
Yes.
feeling, that is like my work is here. I did my part. I
Yes.
speak what I can speak about this, and I think
Yes.
it's important that I speak. So from now on, if people like it or don't like it, but
Yeah.
I'm super glad. I think that QuiltCon has this aura,
Mm-hmm.
this I don't know, this um, I don't know the word even in Portuguese. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
has this something kind of soul. It's kind of that QuiltCon has a soul of its own, which
Uh-huh.
is very very about conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It's so clear if you got to see and study the shows and what people. It's all about conversations. So I think it's super important, a work like that, because each each contest have something in mind, have something to promote, and has its own internal logic. And I think they are all great. And I think that QuiltCon is great because of
Mm-hmm.
this. They are this quilt show.
Yeah.
They are this kind of works. If our traditional quilts are not appropriate to them, it's
Yeah.
okay. We have
Yeah.
another shows. We always say
Right.
that to our. It's like, let's put the heels where the heels belong, and
Yeah.
then go with the sneakers.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's right too. I think there are different shows for different types of quilts. And if
Yeah,
your aesthetic is one way, you're not going to take a very traditional quilt and try to put it in QuiltCon because it's not going to go. And that's okay
it's
because
not.
again, the appropriateness, like you're saying. And I think the discernment you have as the artist, as the quilter, not you specifically, but as
Yeah,
quilters, as
a
artists,
quilter.
it's up to us to have that discernment to know where our quilts belong and know
Yeah.
where our quilts could have a voice. And so I think that's important, just like you said, understanding the appropriateness of where we're placing our work,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then not feeling sad if it gets rejected from somewhere where it shouldn't have been in the first place. So,
yeah,
but going back to what you were saying, I think your quilt is just as powerful as the fentanyl quilt, because that was speaking to that experience of those people, and your quilt was speaking to your experience of dealing with the fact that your
yeah,
body was trying to tell you something very
yeah,
painfully in a long medical process. And for people who haven't experienced that, they're probably like, oh, that's so sad and terrible. Same thing with losing somebody to fentanyl. I've never lost somebody to fentanyl, so I don't know exactly what that feels like. I can empathize. I can,
hmm,
understand that that would really be awful and terrible and scary. Same with your situation. I could understand
yeah,
why that is so terrifying and so hard and sad, and but for someone else to have gone through that and then see your work that came from that experience, that was probably so
yeah,
deeply touching for that person. And it's those communication, those conversations and those connections that are made over your art, that that's what it's for, right? Once you release it into the
yeah,
world, whatever happens with it, whatever conversations happen are no longer yours. It's for the people,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I think someone told me a long time ago, like, oh, it was when I was a teacher. I taught elementary school, and we would have yeah, we would have an a local kind of actor and playwright come in and work with my kids on doing writing like mini plays, and they would like perform. It was so cute. But he would tell the kids, if you have an idea in your group, hold on to it tightly because it's your idea. But if there's no compromise to bring it in, you have to let it go lightly. And I thought that was so brilliant because, like, yes, of course, we want to hang on to what we love, you know, very tightly because it's ours, and we don't want to just let it go. So, you know, we don't want to let it go just willy nilly or give it to someone else without due reasons. But if when you're putting your art out in the world, it's like you have to let it go with a lightness and with a gratitude and with a sense of like, okay, this isn't mine anymore, to almost let go of that feeling of like, sure, not winning or not getting accepted is a bummer.
Yeah,
It's sad. It's a little bit sad, and you can
yeah,
grieve that. But I think if have that lightness of letting it go and releasing it from you, it can also be like a learning experience too, and say,
yeah,
okay, well, you can't make if you're truly making your art and things that speak to you and make your soul sing, you're not going to be making art specifically for trying to please the judges. You don't know who's going to be jurying in the quilts that year. You don't know who's going to be judging that year, depending on the show. So if you try to adjust what you're doing to a certain, contest or show or competition, you're never going to win. You're never going to get anything because you're not being true to yourself. And I think that's where the art piece comes in. If it's true to you, if it makes sense to you and it feels good to you, then that's all that matters.
yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. It's like all bonuses. The work is for you to do,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
the rest
exactly.
is the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. And I really think that contests and shows have a beautiful job,
Hmm.
for to actually gather quilters, etc. Like for
Yes.
me and Natasha, that was probably what kept us quilting. So we
Mm.
are here now, we have thousands of students, etc., etc. But it was this is all probably because we decided to participate on a contest,
Mhm.
and because we were here like across on the other side of Ecuador.
Mm.
and then and then we felt so alone. So I think that we when we look at contests, we have to look at it as a whole, not just the, oh, my quilt was rejected. I know it's not great, but please grow up.
Mm,
look at the contest. I know the feeling it's not good, but
yeah,
look at the contest as a bigger thing than you, than your quilt, or
yeah,
your expectations about
yeah,
your quilt,
sure.
because it's so important to have a place to share what some quilters are doing, not all the quilters, but some quilters.
Some. Mhm.
And yeah, and what quilters are talking, and what we are keeping from this, sorry,
It's okay.
what we are keeping from this beautiful art that we managed to keep alive, and it's alive and it's thriving. This
Mhm.
is so amazing. Like, let's look at context with this macro perspective,
Yeah,
because that will also help people, I think, to detach, from that feeling of rejection, because
right.
it's not
Yeah,
let's grow, like grow in the literal sense, growing perspective, growing in perception of
mhm,
how big that is, how big your work is, even if it's just for you in your home. It's
mhm.
okay. It's not a scale,
Yeah,
it's not. And
no.
the more we endure, I think that the more we endure that I got rejected, the more we endorse that I got rejected feeling, the
Mhm,
more we perpetuate that scale perspective, like the
mhm.
ones that are judged are good, and this one is not. Like, you
Yeah,
have a job, even if your quilt is rejected,
yeah,
is to is to deal with that in a way that this job is ours as artists. We
yes.
have to protect our quilts. Like, this doesn't mean it was not valuable.
Right,
So
right.
I
Yeah,
think it's, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. I think that's having a bigger view, kind of almost like, flying up above everything and trying to see the
Yeah,
whole thing and going, oh, this is just one small piece of life. And
yeah,
this is just one show of hundreds and or thousands of different shows. This is just
yeah,
one moment in time. And it could inspire you to do something different just because you're like, oh, maybe you realized you were just making for only the purpose of trying to get it into that show. But what if
yeah,
that shifts your perspective to start listening to yourself more and just making the things that you want to make? And I think
totally.
that's where growth comes from. And yeah, I love
Yeah,
that perspective. And I think it's important to think that way, to start releasing that
yeah,
expectation that
totally.
if this one quilt show doesn't like my quilt, then I'm never going to make another quilt. Well, okay, then don't. Then you don't belong in you don't belong in this field of quilting. You like if that's all it's going to take to put you off of quilting, then you weren't supposed to be here in the first place. Like, we do it because we
Yeah,
love it, not because we want other people's praise.
yeah, yeah. It's such a delicate,
Mhm.
delicate, um, um, it's so delicate, but I think that people are not kind to themselves,
Right.
like,
Mhm.
be kind to yourself,
Yeah.
offer that to yourself, so you can, I mean, if it was your friend, you were not, oh, stop doing that forever.
Right.
You were not talk to that, like that, to any friend. You will
No.
not. You will say, oh no, that's okay. So pretend your best friend. Go to the mirror and say, that's okay.
Yeah.
We have a workshop. It's super fun. I just remember that. I say to our students, get your best cat grandma voice, like, oh, you're
Mhm.
so cute,
Yeah.
and speak to your quilting like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so cute, I just made you. It's
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
you can, it's like a newborn thing. Oh, you're so cute. And
Yeah.
then we got everyone saying, and people do the hands on the Zoom workshop. So fun.
Oh my God. I love
It's
that
so
so
fun.
much. I love that so much because I do. I talk to my cat like that all day. I talk to,
Yeah,
and that makes sense though, because you're creating something and it's like, it is a
it's
piece of
new.
you. Yeah. It's like the same
Yeah.
thing as like, I mean, it's not the exact same, but it's, you think about we talk to babies that way and it's like, oh, it's because
Yeah.
they're like a new creation. Well, guess what? So is your quilt. And I
Yeah.
love that. I
Yeah. Yeah.
love that. I'm going to do that from now on. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You should. We say exactly that. It's like, this is your first quilt. This is a baby, right? This is the definition of a baby, a newborn life, of course,
mhm.
life.
Yeah.
So talk appropriately with your baby. So do not say, wow, this is garbage. This
Yeah.
is terrible. I'm terrible. I mean, no mother would say that. No one that just literally birthed something,
Mhm.
someone, sorry,
Yeah.
someone
So,
would
yeah.
say, someone would, that was awful. Someone, no one would say, oh, I'm so ugly. I'm terrible at birthing. You just birth a person. It's
Yeah.
like there's no way no one would say. Someone can say I'm tired, and we
Yeah.
have, of course, other serious thing going. But in the
Sure.
logical, when we are in our senses, no one would say, "Oh, I didn't birth correctly." Like,
Right.
is this
Exactly.
person alive? It's like that
Yeah.
doesn't make
Then you
any
did it.
sense.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we tell in this workshop, and it's so fun because it takes off that weight of free motion quilting and
Yes.
art and its stuff and
Right.
all this weight. It just, people actually start to look at their quilting differently. They say,
Mhm.
"Wow, you're right. This is the first time I'm doing this. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. This is a newborn. This is a new thing that just I just made into the world." So
Yeah.
it's super fun, and no one can stop laughing after we do it. You're
Yeah.
so cute.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with babies. Like,
Mhm.
babies are so ugly when they're born. I mean,
Yeah.
when we they like gooey and they are ugly, and we're like, "Oh,
Wrinkly.
you're so cute. Yeah,
Mhm.
you are awesome. You're brilliant." It's like they can eat and sleep. Why are they brilliant? And they are, and we tell those things, and they
Yeah.
are true. So we can extend that feeling. We
Right.
can expand that kindness, that kind of welcoming to
Yeah.
ourselves, to our creations, I think.
Yeah. I agree. And I think it's that same thing. Like you're telling that wrinkly little raisin of a newborn that they're beautiful and perfect because they are. And you can say the same thing to your quilting. Like you're speaking those words into that creation so that it can take, that baby or that quilt. It can take on those words. And if you're doing the work with those thoughts in mind, then it's going to be in your work. It's going to come through you. It's going to be in your child. Those words are going to be in their head. And so I
Yeah,
think if, like you're saying, if you're sitting there thinking, this is so ugly, I'm so bad at this, you're going to start making mistakes. You're going to get lazy. You're going to not want to work on it because you're telling yourself that it's a bad thing. But if you're looking at it saying, you're so cute, like, oh my gosh, oops, I made a mistake. That's okay. It's okay. You're still good, and it's okay. We can fix this. And taking it from that positive spin, like, I think it does make a difference in how you approach that work and calling it art, and which it is art, but if you some it has a different meaning to people. And so some people hear the word art and they go, I'm not an artist. Don't call
yeah,
what I'm doing art, because they get scared of that word, that title. And so if you just take all that back, strip it all back, you're exposing the bare bones and the little, yeah, just that little spark of creation that's like, but what, like, how would you want to talk to yourself if you were a little kid? You know, how would you, tell your child, like, what if they colored you a picture and gave you,
yeah,
and it's not the best, but they did it for you and they're so proud of it? Are you going to be like, this is stupid and throw it in the trash? No, because it's gonna break their little heart. Why would you do that to your quilt? So I'm with you. I
yeah.
think it's important. I think I'm really so excited to talk so cute to my quilts, and I'm like, this is
Yeah.
good advice as I'm going into quilting that Pantone challenge quilt because I'm
Yeah.
so stressed.
Yeah,
But
please use that.
yeah,
Yeah, when we plan our courses, we use neuroscience
Mm,
to do everything actually.
mhm,
So one of the things that is very clear, it's very clear. If you're reading a paper from a medical research
mhm.
on from Europe, German, United States, Canada, Argentina, and anywhere, it's like all the data is kind of the same. Of course, the brain is the same in on the
Yeah,
planet,
right.
but it's incredible how much intention plays a role on learning and growing.
Mhm,
It's like um, it's so amazing what words can do in our brain and how changing one simple word, like it's appropriate, it was
mhm,
not appropriate,
mhm.
how that can completely change the course of your learning and growing into that skill. So that's why I like to talk and I like to
Yeah,
teach, etc. Because I think that those are tools that we should use to
yes,
to do what we want to do, and to enjoy
yes.
it, to enjoy from the very stitch, from the very beginning. We don't have
Mhm,
to endure and suffer from emotion quilting until the day we get good, or because it's
right.
the same mindset of contest, right? So my quilt will be awesome if it enters the contest. So my free motion quilting will be good if I can do that or that. No, let's bring that joy right now, here. What
Mhm,
can we cheer now? What can we
mhm.
celebrate now? Of course, this is not the result you want for yourself as a quilter. Of course, we can understand that, but we can celebrate that one loop. We can celebrate that one curve. We can look
Right.
at and select that very specific thing that bring you joy and say,
Yeah.
wow, this was all the momentum that I needed
Mhm.
to have this. So
Yeah.
let's focus on this. So
Yeah.
it's super important. You are a teacher. You were a teacher, so
Yeah.
you know the difference that words mean when you say
Yes.
to a children, to a kid, you're bad, or you say, can you please apologize? It's like people sometimes think it's the same thing, and it's not. It's
No.
like one, it will crush the kid's soul, and one is like orientation on how to behave. They are completely different
Yeah.
things. And people, I think that some people don't really realize the power that words have and the power that we gave up because we believe that something is above us or something is outreached, or
Mhm.
we cannot do that, etc. So I
Yeah.
don't I'm always giving power to quilters and to
Yeah.
artists. I want everyone to create, and I think this is so important.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And words matter, and how you use them and how you talk about yourself and how you talk about your work is so important. And I love that. And you're right. Like, yes, it is very important how you talk to children. And but it's the same with adults. Like, I'm never going to
Yeah,
tell you that like you're going to be so much harder on yourself than I'm ever going to be on you. I'm never going to judge you as harshly as you're judging yourself. You've built up these ideas in your head that you can't do certain things, but I'm here to believe in you and tell you that yes, you can until you believe it yourself. And like,
yeah,
and I'm always going to be a cheerleader for people learning how to quilt. I'm always like in the behind people are like, "Oh, I did this and it's not great." And I'm like, "Bullshit, it's so good." Like don't sell yourself short. Like you're
it's
amazing.
awesome, it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and, like, if people bring me their quilts to long arm, they're like, "Oh, don't look at the back, da, da, da." I'm like, "I'm not here to judge your quilt, I'm here to help you finish this beautiful thing that you wanted, and so you brought it into existence, and we're a team, and we're gonna make this happen." If there's things I see that are gonna help you improve because it's causing problems, I'll say something,
Yeah,
but not out of judgment, out of me just wanting you to be a better quilter because that's what you
yeah,
want, you know? And
yeah.
so I love that so much. So you have workshops, you have courses. When you sign up for your newsletter, you get an ebook with tips and ideas for free motion quilting, which I'm so excited to dig into. I just signed up for the newsletter so I could get it. Yeah, yeah. I really want to dig in and get better at my free motion, not necessarily for other people, but just for my own self. Cause I've had so many quilts where like I've done edge to edge and I love I love a good
Uh-huh.
pantograph. I'm not sad about it, but just where I think like I could have done something if I had better confidence about it. So anyway, so are they just online? Obviously you're in Brazil, so people here in the US aren't gonna like necessarily come all the way to Brazil, but
Yeah, we can go. We can go. If people ask us, we can totally manage. I'm super, super, super available for that. We are teaching at Quilt Canada 2025,
okay.
and we have online workshops right now. We are, I was trying to have something in the US. I'm gonna be direct because
Mhm.
our students are asking. So they are like, are you gonna be at QuickCon? Are you gonna be at Paducah? Each
Yeah.
show, each
Yeah.
show they were like, are you gonna do that? Are you gonna do that? And because we record so many classes, it's actually difficult for us to manage that.
Mhm.
But I would love to.
Yeah.
I really think that having that in-person experience is super, super fun. It's something
Yeah.
else, So I'm
Yeah.
all for that. But yeah, we have lots of classes and workshops. And the thing that I think it's most important is that from our perspective, me and Natasha, we when we say I'm not judging quilters, etc., that is so true to me, also to Natasha as well.
Mhm.
So we are always saying, so the other day we made a video comparing edge to edge to custom, and
Mhm.
then we were compare, and then we would add a lot of disclaimers, because when we compare, we are trying to show the situations where edge to edge is better and
Yeah.
when custom is better,
Yeah.
and not to say we have. I think that we have to be very careful with the words, so we don't came out as someone that is saying edge to edge is not quilting, because I cannot deal of
Yeah.
coming out as that person. We
Yeah.
can never be that person, right? So
No, yeah.
um, I think it's so important that we think that we have a lot of options. We
Mhm.
have free motion quilting, we have edge to edge, we have computerized, we
Yes.
have panographs, we have tying quilting, we have hand quilting. We have
Yeah.
so many things to explore. So let's not bring the veil down. Let's just move up. Let's just ask what else, not
Yeah.
what other.
Yeah.
What else? Let's add
Yeah.
a lot of inspirations, add a lot of techniques.
Yeah.
And we are super excited to share that with people, because when we teach, we try to do that. So our free motion course is like from zero to amazingness, and we do a lot of steps in between, so people can actually um, grow from where they are, get to where they want, so they have choice. So
Yes.
we had one course that is skip the ditch. Each is the one that we were teaching in Quilt Canada,
Uh-huh.
and people always say, I don't want a free motion too much. Like, I don't want to put my effort in free motion, in learning free motion
Oh,
quilting designs, etc. But I want to do custom work. I know it's not possible. And we were like, no, it's possible. You want to
yeah.
do that? It's
Yeah.
possible. Let's do that. If that will help you be more creative, do your stuff, finish your quilt, and be more happy with your results. And then you can focus. It's okay. You don't have to learn how to do all the free motion quilting stuff if you don't
Mhm.
want to.
Yeah.
There's options, and so awesome to offer options when people have choice. And they were like, wow, really? That is possible? I just asked because I couldn't. I just asked. I never thought it was possible. And we're like, yeah, this is possible. This is
Yeah.
this is so possible. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's really great. And I think too, the more techniques you learn, the more options you have from creating the work that
Yeah.
you want to create. And if you learn a little bit of free motion and a little bit of edge to edge and a little, there's like you can mix all those things and you don't have to
Yeah.
just do one or just the other. It's not just this or
Yeah.
just that. It's all of it. You can do all of it if you want to. But
Yeah.
if you say, oh, I don't do that, you limit yourself immediately. And then you can only do one thing because you've not given yourself the opportunity or the possibility to learn other techniques to bring that into your work. And even if you learn a lot of free motion quilting and you don't like it and you go back to doing edge to edge or computerized, you're still better for it because you're learning about quilting more. And so you can have a better eye for design. You can have a better eye for how things fit together and the appropriateness of certain designs on certain quilts. And I'm so grateful for all the different experiences I've had because it has helped me perceive quilts in a much more well-rounded way instead of being so judgy and so picky about, well, that's not good quilt or that's not good fabric or how I can't even believe
Mm-hmm.
somebody would make that, to like, I don't really care what you make. I'm just here to help you make it better or like do what you make it how you want it to be. And I'm just a piece of that process. And so I think you can have a better perspective when you do let yourself have more and different experiences.
Yeah, totally. And then I think it's important that people don't compare themselves,
Yeah.
so they are the other day I was seeing a video on YouTube from someone, I don't remember who, but it's someone that teaches quilting. And
Mhm.
then that person was saying, wow, I hate free motion quilting because it's not beautiful. But she tried like 3 times.
Huh.
And I wish I knew her name right now because I hate to just say
Say
this, but I
it.
cannot. Yeah, I cannot remember. And I was like, let's have a conversation. Don't say that because you can, but you're putting your expectations wrong. It's
Mhm.
like we have to know where we place our expectations, and we have to know um, how to manage that expectations, because with piecing it's possible, it's not common, but it's
Mhm.
possible that someone bought a pattern and just do that pattern and it's amazing and it turns out great, because if the points are not
Mhm.
so great, it's fine, etc.
Right.
But for free motion quilting, we look as the thing is creating. So we know if one stitch is like to one side and to the
Yeah.
other, we know that. So it's important to place our expectations in the right place. So what are you doing? What are you doing right now? So I have here
Ooh.
one exercise. So
Yeah.
this is all free motion quilting. And when we teach this, we say to our students, what skill are you developing? Because if the design is not pretty at the end, it doesn't matter. As long as you're developing a skill,
Mhm.
you will get the design at the end.
Mhm.
So let's focus on the skill. So what skill are you developing? And then they compare the last one to the next one, and they say, wow, this is different because this one I got more motion to this side. So
Yeah.
it's in the end result is not perceivable, it's not possible to say this is a design that is more beautiful to this one because they are the
Right.
same level. But if you look for the skill, you can
Mhm.
see the difference, and then you can see that you're growing, then you can see that that beautiful design that you want, they will get here sooner
Yeah.
because you're developing skills. You're not randomly doing things that you don't you don't
Right.
know how to look for and trying everything. You
Yeah.
have like a process, a gradation. So
Yeah.
I think it's important because when we talk about this, people relax about free motion quilting. They
Mhm.
say, so I don't have to quilt this amazing design from day one. It's like, no, the same way kids don't start to write cursive letters when
Right.
they are 2 years old. They start painting walls, right? So
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
painting walls, which is even better for them. So let's take the process for what it is, a
Mhm.
process. And then I think that is so powerful because people are kind of relaxed and they can really see
Yeah.
they're growing. They
Yeah.
can really see they are actually improving, and that is so powerful because
Yeah.
I think that for women specifically,
Mhm.
we are always by society thought. to diminish our work
Yes.
and to diminish our value and to diminish our wins and to diminish everything and to say this is not important, this is not important, that other thing is not important, and everything it's not important.
Yeah.
So I think that it is so it's life changing when a woman can look at her own work. It's so powerful when she can look at it and say, this is awesome. This is
Yes.
amazing. I am growing from this. Even if other people cannot value, like this cover pillow, this pillow cover,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter
Right.
because that seed of power, I am sure it will grow into that person's life. So
Yeah.
I think it's super important that we place our expectations in the right place because
Yes.
expectation can be brutal and can be mortal. But we can have excitement instead of expectation, and then
Yeah.
we can have joy in the ride if we learn how to separate things and if we learn where to look for signs that things
Yes.
are going right, things are good, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Ooh, that's so good. That's so good. You're right. And that valuing our own work so that other people
Yeah,
can. Because if we don't
yeah,
value our work and we're not proud to show it off, whoever is going to see it? So,
yeah,
yeah, finishing something and coming with changing expectations is also very important, I think, too. I agree.
yeah,
Because we can come in with the expectation, like, I'm going to make this thing, it's going to be perfect. Well, you're going to feel let down because it's not going to be perfect. But if you come in with the expectation that I'm going to learn something today, like the whole world is open to you now.
yeah,
Because now you're just looking for things to learn instead of looking for perfection. Changes
yeah,
the game
yeah,
entirely.
completely. And it's amazing. And I also think that it's our job to educate people. So
Mhm.
I always say that to our students. I say
Mhm.
this so much here. I always say that
You've
I
got a
should
lot
change
of
your
them.
plan.
No, I love it.
And I talk to them a lot. I talk to them so much.
Yeah.
And I always say to them, so someone said, oh, I want to gift someone with a quilt.
Mhm.
And then that person, I don't think that person will value that. I say, it's your job as a quilter to teach how someone has to value a quilt.
Mhm.
So if you cannot put the price, I say put the price because people can value money. It's not that people only value money, but they can value because they deal with money. So they
Right.
know they have that information.
Right.
So if you say, I'm gifting you a 2,000 gift, people will
Mhm.
say, wow, it's like they will understand from the information that they have, money. So
Yeah.
I always say put the price tag, put the money, and people think it's rude because it's
Yeah.
like I'm giving you, and I get that. I think it's our job, but I get that. So I say, so put put a letter in this quilt that shows how each step that you have to do to create that quilt.
Yeah.
And we even had that available for our students so they can grab ours. So we
Yeah.
say, I started doing this, studying this technique because the words are important, right? So I started
Mhm.
to studying this art technique in a lot of years ago. And
Yeah.
then I used this technique that I learned from an award-winning teacher. I learned this other technique that I learned on another state that I went for a fair. And
Mhm.
then I used the fabrics that I've been collecting and selecting for all these years. And
Mhm.
then I put she X hours of work in this step and other hours of work in this
Yeah.
step and hours others of work in this step. And this is what I'm gifting you.
Mhm.
So I hope you love it and I hope you'll be happy with it. I hope your children is spill
Yeah.
milk in because this is for your life.
Yeah.
And when we gifted people with that letter, people cry. It's
Mhm.
like people actually cry people that don't understand what quilting is. And in Brazil, it's even worse because they don't even have a reference because
Right.
no one quilts, So
Oh yeah, I was
it's
gonna
like,
ask
and
you.
it's this is not a thing here in Brazil. So when we gift someone with that letter,
Hmm.
they treasure that. So I think people say, oh, they think it's a blanket. And I ask our students, well, did you explain why it's not a blanket? Because it's used like a blanket. It's comfortable like a blanket. You put on your couch and your bed like a
Hmm.
blanket. People don't know it's not a blanket. It's our
Right.
job to educate people
Yeah.
that it's not a blanket. The
Right.
difference is on us. And then we had one student that grabbed that letter and gifted to a couple that was getting married, and they said, I get goosebumps.
Mm.
They said that it was the most valuable gift they
Mm.
they were gifted,
Yeah.
from the friends, of course,
Right.
on the marriage. And those are people that didn't know what quilting was before that letter, before
Yeah.
that gift. So I think it's important that we understand also, take things less as rejection. So
Hmm. Yeah.
the rejection thing here, it's like
Yeah.
take less like that and understand that people don't have the information.
Right.
They actually don't know what
They
a
just
quilting
don't
is.
know.
Yeah, and if they cannot value that, it's
Hmm.
because they don't have the information, because
Right.
it's valuable, and the information is out there. So
Hmm.
if we can share that information along,
Hmm.
even if you don't want to put the price tag, it's okay. You can show the value in other ways, like hours of work,
Yeah.
how many techniques you have to learn, how many tools you have to have. Those are numbers, things
Yeah.
that people can understand, things that people can say, wow, you need 3 rulers and one sewing machine to do that. And you're
Hmm.
like, yeah, and I have to do 3 different techniques on the same machine, so I have to change. And we're like, wow, this is so amazing. So I think
Yeah.
it's on us too, right, to make people value that, because it
Right.
has value. And I think that's difficult for women because we are socially um, pressured
Mm.
to not value, to demise, etc. So
Yeah.
I think it's important that we speak about it and
Yeah.
that we encourage each other to say the value of what you are doing. And if
Yes.
that person doesn't deserve it, don't gift them with your
No.
quilt. Not from anger or
No.
bitterness, but from, wisdom. Wisdom.
Yeah. And loving your own self enough to know that like my work has value, and if that person's not going to value it, then it doesn't belong with them. It belongs with me or with
Yeah.
someone else. And I think I love that. I love everything about that. It's so important. It's so important. And I think like you're saying, if people are saying, "Oh, the price tag is rude," or that letter, it's rude to tell people how much this thing costs. It's like, no, it's actually not, because like a wedding gift specifically, they're going to the store and they're picking things and telling you what they want. They know exactly how much those things cost. They know exactly how much you're spending to purchase these things that they want. So if you're gifting them a quilt that you made with your own hands and your own brain and your own body, then I think it's just as important. It has just as much of importance as knowing that
Yeah.
their toaster cost $50. Well, this quilt costs $2,300 because of this. I put this much time in, I put this much material, I put this much hours into quilting, da da da, explaining, breaking it down. And for me, as a quilter for hire, breaking down the cost of everything I do for my clients actually helped me place a higher value on what I'm doing, because I was like,
Yeah.
we're not really making money. Like the business isn't really making money. And I started sitting down and actually breaking everything down step by step, process by process. And I was like, oh, it's because I'm not even charging anybody for my time. What's wrong with it? Yeah, I was like, holy cow. So as soon as I changed that, and like, sure, the prices went up, but only people who actually know what they're asking for are willing to pay those prices, and they know exactly what they're going to get, and they value it, so they're willing to
Yeah.
pay it because
Yeah.
they know that what they're getting is something special. and has value and will have value for their family in the future or for whoever they're gifting that quilt to. So it is a change in perspective, and we have to get over that patriarchal view that what women do isn't valuable. And us talking about our accomplishments or what we're good at or how much value our work has is like, it makes people uncomfortable. It's like, well, too bad, get
Mm,
uncomfortable because I'm
too
here to
bad.
say what I do is valuable. And if you don't like that, go somewhere else. It's that easy. With love, with all the love in my heart, go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we always when we had a business longarming for others for 5 years,
Mm,
and when we started, no one talked about the prices, you know.
mhm.
So you had to. It was so insane. People would have to book a quilt with you months in advance
Mhm.
without knowing the price, and we were like, this is not a business. This
Yeah.
is mob stuff, you know. This is not a business.
Yeah. Yeah.
A business cannot operate like that.
Yeah.
This is not. And then we broke down all the prices on our website
Mhm.
10 years ago, and no one had a website with prices
Yeah.
and with all the information. We're like, bedding costs this, changing threads cost that,
Mhm.
etc., etc. So we started to get a lot of clients, and people were like, I'm so relieved because now I can choose.
Yes.
Now I can choose. So for my wedding, for my, I don't know, daughter's wedding, I'm going to pick the most custom, etc.
Mhm.
But for this other one, I can do a much simpler
Yes.
quilting, because when we started, professional quilters were not even giving the choice to their clients to pick which type of quilting they were getting.
Oh,
It was insane. It was insane. Like,
yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why people are not having a choice?
No.
It was so crazy. But I totally agree. Our clients felt so empowered that
Mhm.
they started to manage their time, their quilts, their resources, so
Mhm.
they could plan ahead and they
Yes.
could select. It was so much fun. When we had to stop our business
Mhm.
for like quitting for customers,
Mhm.
I was heartbroken. I was devastated. I was like, I cannot deal with that, Natasha. And Natasha was like, well, you have, I don't know, so many students. And I was like, oh, I can deal with
Okay.
that.
Oh, just
Because
kidding. It's fine.
I have other people to talk. Okay.
Yeah.
I have my own crew to talk. But
Yeah.
it was so much fun because quilters have their own projects and their own view, and they want to participate. And the more information
Yes.
you provide, the more freedom you have. Because if someone asks, let's I have to break a secret here.
Okay.
I hate to quilt in the ditches. I
Oh,
hate, Natasha hates, we all hate.
it's
We
not
hate
fun.
like seriously. It's not
Yeah.
fun.
No.
So we had a specific charge for that. So
Mm.
if someone asked for for
Stitch and
stitching in the
stitch.
ditch,
Yeah.
and it was super high. It was super high. It was like super high. And
Mhm.
people were like, why so high? And we would explain, it's because the time that I spend to quilt these two ditches,
Uh-huh.
I could free motion quilt this whole flying geese.
Exactly.
So I would quilt these two ditches, and then I'll have to quilt the flying geese all over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
not fun. It's super tough. And they were like, wow, I had no idea. I thought, listen to this, Amanda, you're going to go crazy with this. I saw quilters quilted in the ditch because they were lazy and it was easier,
Oh.
because it's like along the lines,
Uh-huh.
and they saw that from the information that they had. So when we said this is super difficult
Yeah.
in quilting because it's not like straight quilting in a straight machine, we are hand guiding this, and they
Yeah.
were like, oh, I can see. Oh no, I don't need stitch in the ditch. It's like,
You're like,
and they
oh,
would
thank you.
And they could understand and they could value and they could measure if that was important to them.
Right.
So there, of course, there were clients that were like, I need stitch in the ditch. I love how it looks. I don't care how much it costs. I love how this looks. And we're like, okay, because I'm being compensated fairly.
Right.
It's fair that I take that time because everything is it's explained, everything is on the clear,
Yes.
so everyone was happy, everyone could get what is important to them, and um, we had so much fun customing quilts for clients because of that. When
Yeah.
we got a quilt, we knew that they were happy with what they were getting,
Right.
even before we started quilting, because they were like selecting and understanding. And of course, there's a lot of work because you have to educate every single client. You have to
Right.
take the time to explain, and you have to call them, and they have to be on your website, and you say, this is that, this is that, this is that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a long list, but it's so worth it because then it changed. The quilting in Brazil changed after we did that. So
Mm-hmm.
now if you go to a longarmer, they will do that. They
Yeah.
will explain everything, everything. So it was so much fun, and now it's better for everyone because
Yeah.
we had the courage to say, I don't like to stitch in the ditch,
Right. Right.
in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I think that to have the kind of business you want, you have to be able to clearly communicate what you can and can't do and what you will and won't
Yeah,
do. And there's a
yeah,
difference between those two things, can and can't and will and won't, because I can stitch in the ditch, but I don't want to, I
yeah,
but
yeah.
for some things like I can't do certain things, so I'm gonna be clear about what I can and can't do. I just don't have the space,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't have the skills, and I'll say that, "I don't have the skills for that, and I'm so sorry. I'm just not your girl for that," And I'll try to help
Mm-hmm.
people find someone else who can meet their needs, but I think the clearer you can communicate and the
Yeah,
more you're empowering, like you were saying, empowering your clients to make better choices for their own
yeah,
quilts, and then they feel a better part of the process. They're not just handing it over and hoping for the best. They're saying, I like this, I want
yeah,
this, I want you to do this, with the full knowledge of how much it's going to cost, what you
yeah,
can and can't provide, and what it's going to look like at the end, because they've seen it, they've talked to you, they have budgeted because they can look ahead of time and say, "Oh, I can see my quilt is, whatever, 70 inches by 80 inches. I know that it's 3 cents a square inch, so I can calculate that and I can have a cost." And it it just yeah, it helps the process, and it helps you build a partnership with your clients, with the people you're working
yeah,
with, because they trust you. When you're giving them
yeah.
information, they can learn that you can be trusted because you're not hiding anything from them. It's not a
No.
secret.
Yeah. And it's also amazing because then you get to share responsibility.
Mhm.
So there's no that blame game,
Right.
So, oh, the customer that asked for that and I don't like it, or the
Mhm.
client asked for that and it was not gonna work in this quilt. So we get to share responsibility too. So we together are deciding this. This is the
Yes.
best option for your quilt, providing the information, and this is something similar of what you're getting, and then everyone feel involved and everyone can share responsibility
Yes.
and everyone can say, yeah, this was my choice too,
Yeah.
so it's different than handing your quilt blindly to someone and then you had no choice, and of course, or you love or you hate it. There's nothing in between because you had
Right.
nothing, no
Yeah.
information at all.
Yeah.
But if the more information you have, the more halfway you get. And
Mhm.
then you get to feel that you get actually to share responsibility. The
Mhm.
more we provide that information, of course. So
Yes.
I totally, I agree that it's a partnership,
Mhm.
and it's awesome when it is because
Yeah.
then we get to enhance the quilt in the specific needs of that quilt and that person, and this is
Yes.
the goal. So it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. Well, thank you for being here today. This has been so fun to chat with you and get to learn more about your process. And people can go find you on Instagram at Orbital Quilting. You have a website where.
Yeah, we have learn.orbitalquilting.com. I think it's safer to go to Instagram because we are changing we
Okay.
are changing websites now. But on Instagram, we are Orbital Quilting and we have a newsletter, super fun.
Yeah.
We have lots of workshops happening right now for a only one in a lifetime deal.
Okay.
On the Flourish Festival, there is promotion quilting, ruler work. Our programs are like amazing offers happening. So it's super exciting. It's an amazing moment. It's an amazing time to enter the orbital universe.
That's perfect. Well, good. I'm so glad that that's happening so people can go jump on there. They can hear this and they can go sign up and get the
Yeah.
newsletter, sign up for courses and workshops and learn from you. That'll be so cool. But
Yeah,
um
and then you get to the newsletter, you get a free workshop as well, and
yeah.
it's filled with super fun designs. So
Yeah.
I encourage everyone, even if you don't promotion quilt, go get them so you can start.
Yeah. I know. I just went and got it, so I'm very excited to look at it and to practice with it. So
Oh,
that'll be so fun.
and
And I mean, you shared so many good tips and so many pieces of advice, but if there is one tip or piece of advice that you have overall that you kind of just you live by or you just want to share, what would that one tip be?
no, I have one. I have, it's important. You're the goddess in your quilldom. So you get to decide what you do, and all the tools and all the methods are there to serve you. You
Mhm.
don't have to obey to one way of thinking. You don't have to follow any rules. You are the ruler of your creativity. Own that because that is the key to your freedom. And be
Yes.
the goddess in your own quilldom and have fun and enjoy the process because it's so precious what you're doing. Value that.
Oh, yes, that is so good. I'm so excited. That just like gave me so much energy and I'm so excited to go quilt now and be the goddess of my own quiltum because you're right. Like
Yeah,
if we give our power away to other things, then
yeah.
like what are you
And we Yeah, and because there's so much emotion involved,
Mhm.
it's so easy to get lost and it's so easy to give all that amazingness that is inside because a ruler is slippery. It's
Mhm.
like that is not you problem, it's a ruler problem. The
Right.
machine is not working. It's not a you problem, it's a machine problem.
Right.
So
Yeah.
clean everything else, clean everything, all of that, because you are precious. You are the true amazing force in your studio, even if it's like a closet with a
Yeah.
machine. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's your magical word.
Yes.
Own that because that will move your work forward.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Aline. And I am so happy that we're connected now. And I
Oh, me
can't wait to
too.
see more of your work. And yeah, thank you again so much for being here today.
Well, thank you. Why I'm so excited. I hope I doesn't talk too much,
Nope.
but I'm so grateful. And thank you, Amanda, for having us, for having this amazing show where we can be ourselves, we can talk about meaningful things, and we can talk freely. And you're so welcoming. Thank you
Oh,
so
thank you.
much for
Yeah.
your work, and please keep doing it.
Yeah, I will. I promise. I'm never stopping quilting until I die.
Okay, okay. So move from the country, but bring the quilting with you.
I will. I will. I promise.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.